All right, so this is the third large canvas that you will see me using pastels to begin. I am using oil pastels this time. I don't recall if this is the Portfolio water-soluble brand or if this is just a regular Faber-Castell oil pastel. Nevertheless, I end up using the entire purple oil pastel stick moving around the canvas. And right now I'm using a neon ink dauber that is kind of a fluorescent orange. I just felt like dabbing it around the canvas. You'll see that I move around a lot. I go from sitting to standing to kneeling to reaching. And for me, that's just part of the physical enjoyment that I get from working with these larger canvases is it's so easy to reorient yourself and reorient things and give yourself kind of a clean slate just by having a new perspective. This is a fluorescent magenta paint from Dick Blick that I was rolling on, and then my roller broke, so I dropped it on the ground and moved on to some fluid golden brand paint using my spray bottle. I think I ended up using the whole spray bottle in that quick process there. Well, it wasn't quick, it's quick with the time lapse, but everything obviously took longer to happen than what you are seeing in this sped up video. At this point, I'm going around with another pastel, making lots of different marks, kind of scribbling, smearing. And so this one was a chalk pastel, kind of a peachy orangish color. And then I came in with kind of a dark rust colored chalk pastel, and I was playing around with adding it to the canvas and then spraying some water, letting it drip, smearing it around with my hands. You'll see that I let it get really juicy and start just smearing it here around the canvas in different areas where I had sprayed it. And for me, again, it's just always fun to let the water and the medium do the trick and just see what happens and see what opportunities present themselves. This is more chalk pastel, soft pastel, obviously a blue, and there's no rhyme or reason to where I place the marks. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I just kind of feel my way around the canvas, and if I feel an impulse to make a mark, then I do. And a lot of times I will make use of whatever medium is currently in my hand or on my palette and put that in as many places on the canvas as I feel called to at any given time. So I often end up kind of using like a whole tube of paint or a whole pastel stick or something in the course of one pass across the canvas, just because I do add it in as many places as, And there's Ronan again. He did a lot of observing and quality control while I was working on this canvas. This is a new tube of acrylic paint that I purchased at a art supply store on my way back from a guided meditation down in Aspen on this day. So I just stopped by the store and I gave myself permission to use about $20 and buy a few new tubes of paint. So this was a really pretty turquoise, kind of a medium bodied acrylic. It's not really heavy bodied, but it's not fluid either. And so I was using a foam brush, and the mark that I felt inspired or the impulse to use is just kind of a quick brush, downward, upward brush stroke. And so it made those kind of short hash marks. Now I'm going in with like a light yellowish chalk pastel. And again, just moving around the canvas, adding marks, kind of horizontally and vertically with a little scribbling here and there. I felt the need to bring in a lighter color, for more contrast. Things were kind of getting dark, and I felt the need to add some brightness, which continues pretty much through the rest of the painting. Here I'm using that green gold fluid acrylic again, and you can see on my makeshift palette, which is just an overturned plastic storage container from the grocery store. I tend to use whatever I have on hand as a palette. I actually broke my glass palette earlier when I was setting up just by accidentally dropping it on the drop cloth, and it broke, so I just kind of used whatever else I had around. And at this point, then I felt the need to add some more yellow. So first I'm going through with this fluorescent magenta again and scraping it with my rubber scraper in various places around the canvas. And that kind of ends up setting the stage for adding that brighter yellow. I noticed that the places that my eye was most drawn to on the canvas that I liked the most were those that had that yellow from layers before. And so at this point you can see me gathering a few different tubes of yellow that just had a little bit left in the tube, and I squirted them down on my makeshift palette. I'm also adding some more pastel, oil pastel. I believe this is, this is a regular orange oil pastel. And then later on in the canvas, I end up coming in with a fluorescent orange oil pastel as well. So the pinks and the yellows and oranges tend to become more prominent as this canvas progresses. And, again, I don't judge what I'm doing. I just kind of feel into what I'm enjoying the most, and then I do more of what I enjoy. So here I started playing around with just an old round paintbrush, kind of a small tip. I think it's probably like a 6 or 8, if you're thinking in watercolor brush terms, although it's a synthetic brush. And I just started dabbing the yellow, and then I started dabbing what was left of that fluorescent magenta or pink, and then dabbing the yellow on top. And then I was just going back and forth with kind of creating these fields of dots. They get a little messier as I go along because I was just really enjoying the organic nature of the marks and letting them be whatever they ended up being. So then I would play around with adding, pink dots first, and then I would make yellow dots on top of that, which would then make orange, and then sometimes I would reapply the yellow on top, to make the yellow dots a little bit more distinct in places. But I really just end up doing this over the whole canvas. I was initially feeling like I was just going to do it on part of the canvas, but then again, I noticed that I was enjoying it so much and enjoying the effect that I just kept going. It looks like something stuck to my leg there, some kind of wrapper or something. My legs are actually dirty. The back of my right calf is dirty because we've been biking a lot. I've been biking with my son, and I've been trying to learn how to mountain bike on this little bike course with little, bumps and turns and stuff that we have locally in this new town that we've moved to. And I have not been entirely successful. I keep falling over. And so my leg is just kind of covered with the grease from my chain because I keep falling over to the same side. So exciting times. But here I am just continuing those dots. You can see how those fields of dots have spread over the whole canvas. And while this canvas is very abstract, it doesn't feel chaotic to me. As I've been moving along, I've been really conscious of feeling into where my impulses are asking me to make marks, and then also noticing, what I'm really enjoying and how I can bring more of that into the canvas, which then results in some more cohesion. So here I'm sorting through my oil pastels again. You can see on the lower right, I just have this big black tub of my acrylic paints, and then I ended up adding my oil pastels in little separate buckets in there too. So my art supplies are actually starting to dwindle. I am in need of an art supply refresh, but in the meantime, I've just been using whatever I happen to have left, with the exception of the occasional times I allow myself to, buy a few new tubes just to add some new color and new texture into the mix. But for the most part, I've really been enjoying, playing around with what I have, using some of the colors that maybe I haven't used a lot of. Here I'm going in with another pastel and just adding bits more color wherever I feel inspired to, and you'll see me step back and stand there and adjust the canvas again, and then come back in, and at this point I was adding a very, very, very light blue chalk pastel, just short little dashes horizontally. And for whatever reason, it just felt like I needed to bring that in. I can't really give you an analysis, which is the way most of my painting is, which is actually why for so long I was hesitant to talk about my work, because people would ask me for the story, or people would ask me for the whys and the technique, and there's nothing that I can really explain. I use a variety of techniques. The best advice I ever got was from artist Juliet Crane, who, just says, notice what you're loving and do more of that if you ever feel stuck. And so that's kind of been my motto, is as I'm creating, no matter what I'm creating, if it's an illustration, if it's an abstract piece, if I'm sitting down to play with my watercolors, if I've created something in one of my art journals that I notice that I really love, then I will do more pages of that. I don't feel like every page has to be something new. And I've noticed that I've really felt more and more comfortable with my unique style as I've allowed myself to continue to explore and embrace, what's really most fun for me. So thank you for watching. I hope you got some inspiration and maybe even motivation to go drag out your own canvas as well. And I will see you next time.